Hey folks, welcome back to our channel. This is Offgrid Van Life, and in this video we are going to be looking at the Daly Active Balancers. So we did a video recently where we just unboxed these. So this one here is the hardware balancer, or hardware active equalizer as they call it. So this is kind of your foolproof one, if you like. Very elementary design, literally just plug in a set of balance leads just using a 5-pin connector in there, and it has sort of software in there that'll just do its thing, pre-programmed, no customization, no settings to change or anything like that. And in terms of the actual makeup of what's inside here, it's just a few capacitors that just actually balance the cells and move voltage from the cells that are higher and where if there's a delta. So very elementary. According to the sticker that's on here, you can do a maximum of 1 amp of balancing, which is a very small amount. So if the delta of your cells is too big, then 1 amp potentially is not enough. And then we have the software active equalizer or software balancer. So this is a little bit more smart. So your balance leads, or the leads that come off the battery, will plug into there. And then you have a couple of other ports. One is the UART port, same as the Daly BMSs, that you plug your Bluetooth into. And then you can use the app for various things to be able to administer this, see what's happening, change settings, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to be diving into this in a little bit of detail today. So what we've got set up here is just a set of workshop cells with a 200 amp Daly BMS and 2 sets of balance leads here. So this one's for the software balancer and this one's for the hardware balancer. And so what we're going to do is plug this in. We've also adjusted the voltage of some of these cells so that they're not all even. So 2 of them we've run down slightly, and so it'll be quite a good test to see whether these things actually pick up on that. One of these cells is below 3.3 volts. So I'm not sure that this will work. I believe that this only activates if all of the cells are above 3.3 volts and if they have a certain, and if the delta is big enough between them.
I think it's 3.4 volts.
3.4.
So this would only kick in once all of the cells are above 3.4 volts. So that leaves a fairly narrow range of balancing between 3.4 and 3.65. But the good thing is that whereas the BMS stops its passive balancing once it stops charging, these will continue until the delta between the lowest and the highest is below a certain threshold.
Yeah. So what we'll do now is, if you take that and plug it in, I'm going to get the Daly app up here. Then we can
go. Well, with this we'll only be able to measure on the wires to see what flow there is.
Yeah, but we might see the delta between the cells changing.
Okay, immediately as you plug in it goes green, so that you know something has come alive. I'm going to get our clamp meter, our ammeter, to see what is flowing between the different wires.
Okay, so we can see here on the app we've got 2 cells that are very close to 3.34 volts, and then 2 that are around about the 3.30 volt. So let's have a look. Is this thing doing anything?
So it says green. So let's see. So which is the highest cell? So this would be cell number 1.
Yeah.
So it's going to be one of the higher ones. So if we put the meter over this wire, I'm just going to zero it so that it's totally zero. It's pretty much zero, so it's not actually balancing at this point in time, which you would expect because it is less than 3.4 volts. So 3 and 4 are the low cells. So, I mean, it could be taken from the second one, and I was measuring the first one. There's no flow to them. Let's just double check all of them. No flow. Check the second cell, which is also quite high. No flow. So nothing is flowing. So this is not, at this point in time, doing any top balancing.
Okay. Let's plug this one in and then see what it looks like.
So you might be able to connect to it now on the app. Do you want me to connect on mine, or are you going to connect on yours, sir?
I'll just do it.
Okay, so on this, it gives you the cells, but yeah, you need to go to the
So if you
balancer.
go to the Active Balancer tab, you can set your balance current, which I believe you can increase that, but I think it has a maximum of
1 amp. It won't go over 1 amp. If you put in a different value, if you put in a value higher than 1 amp, it'll just reject it.
It says on the sticker 2 amps though.
Is it a 2 amp? Okay.
I think so. It's quite a blurry sticker.
Yeah, it's quite difficult. I thought it was 1 amp, but
Well, the sticker says more. The sticker says 2 or 3. Not entirely sure which. Max current. Oh no, it is 1 amp. It's just the bad
yeah,
sticker.
I think you can change it to 0.5 or 0.8 or something, but I'm pretty sure it's only 1 amp. Yeah, max 1 amp.
So balance.
And then balance open start. So did you change it to 3.3? Or was it on 3.3?
No, that's what it was on. And if you can change that to 3.2 maybe. Yeah. So in theory that should be balancing.
But I know I've known of somebody who changed to 3.2 and it didn't actually do anything. So they were querying whether that actually does anything at all.
There you go.
It's not much though.
No, it isn't much. We're just doing something. But the delta is not that big between the cells, so...
We should actually put the cells on charge, and then you'll see it may start.
I'll put one cell on charge.
Well, put the whole battery on charge, and then you'll see.
Okay. So let's check this one. Which one is it? This
See,
one.
the LED still hasn't come alive yet.
Yeah.
So I think you might find that after all cells have reached 3.4 or more, that it comes alive. That's not really top balancing. That's such a tiny bit of current.
Yeah.
What are we going there? Let's bump this up.
What did you say they needed to be? 3.4?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it should be 3.4. I know somebody that tried this out, set it to 3.3 or 3.2 or whatever, and it only actually kicked in at 3.4.
Okay. So our delta has grown between the cells. We've got one that's 3.4, 3.4, 3.37, 3.37.
F to the
Yeah, that's this one. active balancer. Yeah. So see the LED on the balancer is starting to flash now. So obviously it's starting to do something. So if we check,
the balance status is on.
So there you go, 0.1 of an amp. So that's a bit more than we had previously. Almost 1 amp, that's 1 amp there.
So it's coming out
1.1 amp. 0.6, which is interesting because this cell is one of the lowest voltage, it's the second lowest voltage. In fact, it is the lowest voltage now according to the Daly app. Now if we check the hardware balancer, 0.1 of an amp, still not doing very much there. Again, not very much.
So according to the app, balance status is on, so it's balancing. The balance current is 0.8 and the balance position is 2. So I'd be curious to know what they mean by balance position. So, I mean, this is cell number 2 as far as the balancer is concerned. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. I would have thought that, well, maybe what it means is that it's taking from 2. So let's actually measure with a multimeter which the highest voltage is. Because I would expect it to take from the highest voltage and be using that to charge the cell with the lowest voltage.
Yeah, that's around 1 amp that it's pulling from
3.51. Okay. 3.57. So this is the high. Okay, so this is the highest.
Yeah.
3.57. That was 3.51, 3.34, and 3.4. So these two are equal. So it's taking from cell number 2 with the highest voltage, obviously.
Yeah.
And balancing. So what? When we measure these wires here, what is the current flowing through them?
So for this balancer, it's taking 0.2 of an amp from cell 2 for this is the active balancer, sorry, the hardware balancer. Taking nothing from cell 1, nothing from cell 3, and nothing from cell 4. So the hardware balancer is doing something, but it's really minimal. Not
if you unplug the software balancer, just so we don't have any interference.
You mean the hardware or the software?
Yes. I'm curious to see what the software balancer does. Maybe we can try it the other way around as well. So we're still
okay, so if we take cell number 1, I'm just going to zero this. Nearly 1 amp. It's fluctuating a bit. Yeah, nearly 1 amp from that one. Over, yeah, 1 amp from that one. Definitely taking more from there. And then these two, there should be nothing. Yeah, pretty much 0. And 0 from that one. Looking at the Daly app, the delta is still quite big. It's 0.15 of an amp. Sorry, volt even. Amp. What? Should we try unplug this and then plug the other one in?
Yeah. Because you know what this tells me is that cell number 2 is charging cell number 1, which is surprising because I would have said that it should be ignoring this for now and charging 3 and 4, which are lower.
Mm-hmm. Wrong wire. 0.1 of an amp, 0.17. Zero. And pretty much zero.
So although it is balancing, see now that it says the battery has gone up to 14.6.
This is unplugged, so this will be off. Do you want to connect to this one?
Yeah, let's unplug that and plug this back in. So that's F2.
The light is off this thing now. Oh, there we go. Light's back on.
So this is now balancing. The software balancer is balancing.
Yeah.
Again, it's balancing at 0.8 amps, and its balance position is 2, which means it's flowing. This doesn't tell the direction of flow, does it, by any chance?
Well, I think it changes. Yeah, it changes depending on.
Okay, just put it on the same.
Put it that way.
That's minus 0.9. Okay, try it on there. And that's positive 0.9. So it's flowing out of here and into there, which is crazy because these two are much lower than that.
Yeah.
So the balancer, the software shows you from which cell it's taking charge, but it doesn't show you which cell it's using to charge. It is charging.
Yeah. But what I also find strange is why it's just distributing that charge to one cell. It must just do them in sequence, I guess. It must just take it from there to there, and then maybe at that point then maybe it would move to the others. But even that wouldn't make sense, because once these are matched, then where's it gonna take the power from? So the balancer seems to only work on when cells are 3.4 or over. And so because these two bottom cells, these two, cell 3 and 4, are under 3.4, maybe it's not working with them yet.
Well, I think because these are over 3.4, it's balancing from this to that. But because these are below 3.4, no matter what we set on the app, on the settings, it's not actually working.
Yeah.
So if I come back to this, if I change this back to like 3.1, so in theory, it starts at 3.1, but in practice, is it flowing to those two batteries, those two cells?
No.
Where it's flowing to. So it helps with the battery that is nearly top balanced already and going out a little bit. But it doesn't help if you have a real lagging cell, badly lagging, like we've discharged, so these two are really lagging. It doesn't actually help.
Yeah.
They all need to reach a certain threshold, and whatever you've set in the app doesn't actually help, because I've set it to 3.1 volt.
Yeah.
And it's still not balancing on that. And I assume that when they say the balance open start volt, they're talking about the recipient cell, not the donor cell.
Yeah.
If that's the correct terminology.
Interesting. Yeah. So there we go. Quick recap of what we did. ran these two cells down a fair amount. These two were pretty much full state of charge, then connected up the active balancer, and essentially this cell has the highest voltage, but not by very much. It's quite a
3.54.
3.54 versus 3.44.
Yeah.
So pretty close already, but because these two are over 3.4 volts, the active balancer is working with them. Because these two cells are under 3.4 volts, the active balancer is not doing anything with them. So they're just sitting there at 3.2 volts or 3.3 volts and potentially would never receive any charge from the active balancer or any movement of any power because they're under 3.4 volts. So that's an interesting note. So like my dad said, this active balancer might be helpful in the circumstances where your cells are pretty much fully charged most of the time, and maybe they're just going out ever so slightly in terms of the delta between the cells. But if you have wildly out cells, then potentially this active balancer is actually not that helpful. This, on the other hand, so far not very helpful at all. Either it needs very specific criteria, for example, all of the cells need to be over 3.4 volts or something like that, and maybe has a very small window that it can work with, or it actually just needs some work from Daly to be able to work properly in the first place. Anything else?
I think we just leave it for some time. I mean, I'd be curious to plug that one in and we just leave it running for a while and see if somehow they miraculously decide they're going to charge everything at some point.
Yeah, so I think what we'll do is we'll leave it there, folks. Hopefully you found this video interesting in some way, and we're going to leave this charging and plugged in here for the time being and just see what they do. And we'll probably give you an update video once we've left it for a few days just to see how it gets on. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.